Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to TF1eSports. It is Season 1, Round 6 in Lusail. We did take a week's break from the season, but now we are back, and it is perhaps the circuit least known for its racing, but more known for its emphasis on qualifying. So, of course, we will see where drivers position tonight. But of course, going into tonight, the standings are Pam, of course, leading the way. A streak of podiums coming in tonight. And of course, most wins throughout the season. Kindle Zero, John Liu, Captain Foxy, and Umby all caught in that battle for second place. But can one of those rise above and try and take a bit of a challenge to a Pam going into the second half of the season? We'll find out tonight. Steve, Marito, Jackie, Spindler, and Steven Ronaldo rounding out your top 10, with 11th to 15th being Ninja, The Vins, Vomanda, Girolo, and Kai. And the rest of the drivers without points are Guitars, John Lou Alex, Scambro, Luigi, and Pinolo. Your team standings going in is Williams leading the way, but McLaren a close fight there and much closer than the drivers' standings. Alpine not even too far away. 3 teams there battling for the constructors, so that's maybe where the occasion really lies in this season, with Ferrari and Sauber rounding out your top 5. Haas, Aston Martin, Rebel Racing, Racing Bulls, and Mercedes still without points after 5 rounds. So I know what their mission is going into tonight. We have perhaps missed the first couple of minutes of qualifying there. I do apologise. But regardless, let's see what happens. We, of course, are going to refer to last week's notes in terms of qualifying position. We've got John Lou Alex out there, who's really not been setting the world on fire last week. Continued to kind of finish outside of the top 15. Of course, luckily he can, despite what happens, there's only 14 drivers here tonight, so luckily he is on for a good result no matter what. And it looks like we're in the day and the dry here in Qatar. So, of course, this is usually ran as a night race. Of course, I do believe we still have this track to come up in the real-life Formula 1 calendar, and I do believe it's one of the last few races. Of course, it's Interlagos this weekend, and of course, track requiring no introduction. But Lusail brought in as part of a bid to bring Formula 1 to Qatar, beg your pardon. And, well, I don't think, personally, look, listen, this is just my opinion, your opinion may differ. I think this is a great track for hot lapping, but for absolutely anything else, it doesn't really quite fit the bill. It was originally a MotoGP circuit, so of course, that's where the motorbikes, that's because the motorbike class of racing, so to speak. And, you know, I think this track suits that much better, and that's what it was built for. I do believe even the World Endurance Championship has even driven around here. Don't ask me how they managed to fit those cars round here, but hey, they found a way and they did it. But now John Lou Alex to the line, and that's a 1:26.510 for the Racing Bulls driver. Next across the line, there's one of the McLarens on an out lap so far. That is, of course, Captain Foxy. Really has not been on a good run of form recently, of course, racing for his own personal mission of bringing awareness to suicide prevention. Of course, and he's been doing a good job of that. So far, so good. It's about not giving up for him, and he's hoping to really bring the challenge back to Qatar, of course, starting tonight. In 4th place, 35 points, so a bit of work to do, because that's a 37-point gap to bring down. Anything is possible when you put your mind to it. Ninja going nearly 3 seconds faster than his own teammate there, so we know who's carrying the flag for Racing Bulls there. Ninja just kind of comparing to last week as well. Once I find him on my notes there, 11th place, but couldn't stay there. Had to settle for 12th place, and that does disqualify you from the points-paying positions as well, which I'll get into in just a moment. But one person I've been trying to keep an eye on, Steve Ronaldo here, of course, was okay in the preseason, but he's just not really converted it to anything spectacular. Of course, you might remember, if you were with us back in Silverstone, what feels like a lifetime ago, you'll remember he had a bit of an awkward collision with our now championship leader. Really, since then, it just kind of set the tone, really. He's not been consistent with his track limits, and of course, Lusail is known for being a track limits punishing circuit, as now, there you go, Foxy with a 1:22.6. Somebody that really shone last week was, of course, Sarju, pole position in the race, converting it into a win. And sadly not being able to be with us tonight. So, of course, we do miss him very dearly. Hope he can come back with us for next week. But here we go. Another driver that has I think has just kind of been trying to find his feet throughout this first season. Jackie here has been one to keep an eye on, but very wide through there. That is going through turn 14 on to 15. And of course, those are fast right-handers, and you can think that you can actually kind of push it through there, but with the aerodynamics of how the game's handling and how it all works, you can't really do that. You kind of do have to lift off, unless if you've really put your wings up. And I do imagine there are some high downforce settings here at the circuit, but I also think there's only one DRS zone, and that's the only real overtaking opportunity. Unless you could get a run from turn 1 into turn 2, which of course is a long right-hander where we saw George Russell and Lewis Hamilton collide there, real life, a couple of years ago, or so it feels like anyway. And we are just... well, that really just feels like the only way you can actually overtake someone, and then the rest of the track, you just kind of have to sit behind them until this start-finish straight. And John Liu across the line, and that is second place there. And he's been really impressive as well. Got to give John Liu a bit of credit as well. Coming into tonight, third place on 38 points, equaling Kindle Zero, who is also not with us tonight either, so missing Kindle Zero. But the Vins there, fastest in this first part of qualifying, just nearly 7 minutes gone. And, of course, just to compare that to last week, he was 7th place, so he's 6 places high so far, but we still have to wait. Pinolo, though, he's just not really been up to scratch, and he's kind of been like that since pre-season. You remember back in Silverstone, he was just way off the pace. And, well, actually, tonight is actually mixing it up a little bit, a 1:24.0. So as soon as I was talking a bit of shade about him, he then goes and says, I can actually get in the mix there, and he gets in the mix. So there we go. Those 2 weeks off have paid dividends for the Kick Sauber driver. But then Steve Ronaldo as well. Another one I've been slightly critical of has now got and put it there. But, of course, I'm waiting for the Williams duo of Spindler and Upham. So Spindler, of course, going into tonight. I'm just trying to see. 9th in the standings. 8 points to his name. Hoping to make that more tonight, but of course championship leader Upham here requires no real instruction, most wins of the season, and certainly is on a streak of podiums right now. Coming into the final corner here, and this one will be the one that the drivers will be worried about. It's not gonna be comparable to the top. He's actually down in 8th with a 1:24.3. That is very strange there. I wonder if the high downforce nature of the circuit doesn't really suit him. Let's keep an eye on his teammate Spindler, who's now just approaching the final corner of 16 there. Go through that at about 90 miles per hour. The ERS will open in just a few moments' time, and that is top of the timing boards, but by just under 0.2 of a second there for the Williams driver. We are now going to go around the track and see who else is on fire. Let's have a look at Qatar's, who's just coming into the pit lane. But 3 drivers yet set a time. Jackie, well, hasn't set a time due to invalidating his flying laps. He's even invalidated his out lap, but this one is perhaps the one that matters the very least there. Once you're around turn 13, you can... Sorry, turn 16, beg your pardon. You can have another go. So here we go. To the line goes the Ferrari driver. And now, down the start for this straight. DRS opening as he gets underway. Let's go aboard for a lap of the Lusail track with the Ferrari driver. Approaching turn 1, and you brake as late as you dare. That looked about 25 meters there from the Tifosi driver. Of course, this team is the home team of the league. An Italian league is TF1eSports. And now through turn 2, that looked rather rapid here. So if Jackie can put this together, this might be competitive for pole position. But here we go through the double right-handers of 4, 5, and then go through that high speeds. You have to slow down and put the anchors on because this is a slow turn 6. Third gear, get on the exit. Be careful with your throttle input. Very easy to have oversteer moment. And now this is an awkward turn 7 here. It's kind of a medium to slow speed corner. Pick your moment to get on the throttle. And, well, Jackie not taking the optimal line through there, but flat through here. And now it's very much like turn 6 again, but this time it's turn 10. Now you're going for a flat turn 11. This looks okay from Jackie so far. This is the part where he invalidated last time. This is 12. Then this is 13, and then not too long after, you've got 14. You could be flat through there, but look at the understeer. The Ferrari has not really able to take the best line, and he even has to go down to 7th gear, going through 15, but now through 16. Can he put a good lap together? He'll be happy to have one on the board. Let's see. Oh, he invalidates. through the final corner. And Jackie, well, I was just saying he was going to put a time on the board. He then fails in the final corner, and that means that carries over onto your next lap as well. Not like he could cool everything down in time anyway. So unfortunately, Jackie's run goes in the wind, and he has messed it all up for himself. So we'll have to go again, and now he's looking at setting his fastest time in the dying seconds of qualifying, and that is not an exciting prospect for a driver. I just wonder, though, if he's using these invalidations as bankers and is hopefully trying to take some learning points from it. It's really all you can do in a desperate situation like this. And, well, with how fast qualifying goes by, you don't really have a lot of time to analyze what went wrong either. You kind of have to try and move on and try again and just put a time on the board now. I think that's going to be Jackie's main worry. But Umbi, one of the three drivers yet to set a time, will now set a time, and it will be the fastest by over 0.3 of a second. But there are a few drivers out on track as well. Steve Ronaldo also out on track going through the final corner. Had a bit of a slow in-lap there. I think he might have invalidated on a previous attempt there. But a 1:22.2 still for that Tifosi, for the other Tifosi driver, whose teammates not having the best of luck. Captain Foxy down by a second in Sector 3, but due to an invalidation himself. So what about John Liu here? Of course, I feel like John Liu Alex and him are brothers, but again, don't quote me on that. I'm really just basing that off the two names there. They are similar, but I don't know. They might not even be close to being related. But there we go. So he's improved on his personal best through Sector 1. Now, something that I always say that I haven't said for tonight, in case you are watching F1 eSports for the first time, first and foremost, warm welcome to you and welcome to TF1 eSports. Thank you for choosing ourselves as a way to get yourself into league racing, and I hope this inspires you to chase your own league as well. And just one thing you need to see as well, John Liu there, over a second on his personal best. So of course the only time the delta in the top right doesn't compare to the personal best is when we're watching the qualifying leader. But of course we are watching 6th place at the moment as who was that there? That was the Vins. Was that the Vins up to second? But there was a change in the time boards there. I just didn't quite catch it. But John Liu there up to the top now. And he is out of the 40 drivers the fastest so far. But Jackie and Scambro still yet to set a time. And I haven't talked about Scambro all that much, to be honest with you, just because of the fact that Scambro just really hasn't been setting the world on fire. Unfortunately, it has been at the back of the field more times than not. Let's see if this 2-week break has done him any good, as the Vince has indeed come off a flying lap. So I do believe that was him improving in the standings, as I think then Spindler was then at the very next moment across the line. Well, hang on, that was the time he set already, as there's a Racing Bulls going past him. That'll be John Liu Alex, who's currently the slowest of the bunch, a 1:26.5. I'm just trying to make sure we're capturing everybody. I think Ninja's on a flyer, so let's have a look. No, I don't think he is. He's up to 7th at the moment. But I'm really, really happy for Pinolo's sake that he's actually getting a bit of pace under him. He's currently 9th place and is mixing it even with a Pam, our championship leader. So this could be advantageous for Foxy here. He does kind of need this, if you think about it. Of course, like just to remind you, coming into tonight, 4th place, 37 points behind. Of course, you get a maximum of 12 points here for winning the race. But of course, what if a Pam doesn't finish in the points there? He finishes outside of the top 8 and top 10. He, like, you know, Foxy could benefit from this. Sorry, it's 16 points. So, like, if a Pam finishes there, like, you know, he could be quids in there. So, like, you know, something for Foxy to keep an eye on. Can he take advantage of this? And now, at the moment, well, John Liu Alex, John Liu even, will be thinking about that. Who else could be thinking about that? Of course, Kindle Zero not with us. So, really, it's John Liu and Foxy, and even Umbi, could be saying, hey, we've got an advantage here. Let's try not to fight each other too hard, and maybe just try something a little different here. But, of course, we're one of those drivers in championship contention. We'll just have to cut away from, because Scambro is now out on a flying lap. Not looking dramatically quick. Let's go on board with the Mercedes driver as he approaches turn 7 now. That's more or less the line I expected Jackie to take when he was on his flyer. He was currently on an out lap right now. So, yeah, he's saving his qualifying run till the final couple of moments there. I'm not too surprised, to be honest, as Jackie has actually just started his flying lap. So we'll cut to him in a few moments' time. But let's keep an eye on Scambro here. Currently 14th, but without a time. That's why we're seeing him so low. And look, he's used up all of his battery already during qualifying. You can see that there. It is just hovering around the 10% mark. And he's in 6th gear, and yeah, he is not carrying the most amount of speed there I would expect there. So Scambro probably not going to set the timing boards on fire. As there we go towards the line there, has a moment on the throttle, and then that is going to be 12th place, and that is the fastest of the bunch, with John Llewellyn also on a lap as well, and he's improving too. But has it all gone wrong for the Racing Bulls driver? Is he slower than Scambro this round? Let's just wait and see. Of course, Jackie we will need to cut to next. He's still without a time in these final 2.5 minutes of qualifying. John Llewellyn significantly slower, 26.0. I think that would actually disqualify you if we're talking about the 107% rule. At least I think we are. Oh my goodness me, Jackie nearly invalidating through turn 15. 16 is where it all went wrong for the Ferrari driver, as Foxy to the top of the timing boards for now. What about Jackie? Can find 3rd place. So Jackie there, leaving it late, but makes it great for him. But of course, Track Evolution won't be on his side. There's Foxy there to the right-hand side, well, left-hand side of your frame. But here's a Pam and 1 everybody is looking out for, but 1.3 seconds in Sector 2. That's only good enough for a 1:23.0, but it would at least bring him into the mix a bit better. Would find him 8th place, but there's a Ferrari ahead of him. That's Steve Ronaldo coming off an outlap. That could give the Williams some dirty air coming out the final corner, but it will be a slipstream onto the start-finish straight. A Pam finds 5th place, and there's not enough time for another flyer. That is disappointment for a Pam, and he's not even using Track Evolution. Steve Ronaldo is, though, but there are times going to be flying in all over the place. Foxy might have time for another flyer. Jackie might, if he can hurry up a little bit. And Umbi as well, but lots of drivers in their early laps. Steve Ronaldo has invalidated. It's over for Steve Ronaldo again. Track limits. And, well, sorry, track limits, same problem, different track. Ronaldo has ruined his qualifying again. And I'm just trying to keep an eye on where everybody is. Jackie is coming to the line as well, but he's over 8 seconds slower. Is he going to go for another flyer? He's got Foxy behind, who will be thinking about it. Let's see what he does. And Jackie, yep, goes flying. Will go flying one last time. 20 seconds to go in qualifying. Foxy is just going into the pits. He doesn't feel he can improve. So this means now, look, the Ferrari has actually stayed with the Alpines. He should have really got out the way, if we're being honest here. But there's a Williams car coming to the line. That is going to be, is it a Pam? Spindler note going to the pits there. So who is that in that mix? John Lewis invalidated as well. He won't go faster. He's going to be annoyed with the Ferrari driver for not getting out of the way. Umbi to the line, though. He's pole position at the death of qualifying. Jackie has invalidated yet again, so he won't be going any further. But what about the Vins? Currently half a tenth slower than his personal best, but was Sector 1 and Sector 3 magical? Sort of. It's a 1:22.0, but Qatar's as well on a flyer, and that is half a second down. What about John Llewellyn, though, invalidated? So this is pretty much your order, unless if Qatar's could do something. I don't think he's going to do anything, to be honest with you. Very, very slow and lethargic through turn 7. This is not looking like a quick time at all. Let's see his tyre life there. 1 lap old soft tyres. I'll just give you an idea. Steve Ronaldo's fastest up there came from 4 lap old softs. I wonder if that had any part to play there. Well, I'm sorry, I'm saying that, but he couldn't set the time there when the tyres were fresh, but had to wait for the tyres to die off. Not really where Steve Ronaldo should be. If he could just sort out his track limits, he'd be quitting for a good time there. Guitars will come into the pits there, and he will, of course, round out qualifying. But there you go, Umbi in pole position. Great job from the Alpine driver, and of course hoping to take advantage of a Pam's misfortune there. 6th place, of course, will get the points to you in just a few moments time. Of course, we'll have to go through official qualifying results, and then we will take it from there. But otherwise, we'll be back with you in a few minutes time. Not really much more for me to say as of right now, but it's Umbi on pole position. We'll, of course, run through your grid one last time. We will be right back. We'll be just putting on some music, and then we will see you in about 2 or 3 minutes. Just want to say thank you to those who have tuned in so far. We'll be back underway in 2 minutes' time. So we'll be back with you at 20 minutes to the hour. So that is 2 minutes from now. Thank you for your patience. We'll be giving you 29 laps from the sale here at TF1. As you can see, it's 20 minutes to the hour, and we have a countdown. 3, 4, 5 red lights. It's going Qatar, and that is a good start there from Umbi. I think Captain Foxy was caught a bit napping there, but he's got the traction as there's a bit of tough scrambling at the back there. But Foxy to the inside, but a lead in the race. Can they get it done? There's contact between Foxy and Umbi. There's more contact between a Ferrari and another car. There's Ninja there, getting into the mix in the background as well. And the beneficiary is Captain Foxy from all of that. I don't think there was any contact there that would warrant a penalty. And Pam is also down a few positions. Let's have a look at the tyre starts there. And oh my goodness me, 3 wide going into that corner. It's absolutely insane. What is going on here in Qatar already? There's a Ferrari there. Steven Aldo just trying to get things sorted out. He's just overtaken a couple of cars. Round turn number, what is that? Number 6 there. And now through 7. Just round the outside there, but a divide between the hard and the medium runners, at least not much of one anyway. Scarborough are going to move on Guitars there, but does Guitars have a problem? Let's just have a look and see if we can spot anything. I don't think he has. As yeah, no, we continue normally, and the camera was just simply too far away there to make anything out. But Ninja there, what a start for him. And now Kai and John Llewellyn are going side by side there into the fast left-handers there. That Racing Bulls there not sticking to the road quite as nicely as Alex would want. And that is Kai there up into 11th place there. But here we go. So a Pam now on the back foot in this early stage of the race. Foxy will obviously take the fastest lap of the race on lap 1 because he's first across the line. As now Pinolo is about to be overtaken by Steven Aldo. This should be no contest at all. Pinolo has proven to be slower than Steven Aldo throughout the entire season. And in the background as well, John Llewellyn has been done by Scambro there. And into turn 1, that is the move for the Merc driver done. And he will just continue setting his eyes forward. But it's the 3 championship contenders vying for a runner-up position. The only one we're missing in this battle is Kindle Zero, but sadly unable to be with us. Lap 2 out of 29 has begun. So 28 laps to go as of right now. But Jackie here will be disappointed as well. Down 1 position, but Ninja up 5 from 9th to 4th. in 1 lap is rather impressive, but just looks like he's dropping away from these leaders. But of course, remember, only 1 DRS zone, so as long as you get a comfortable gap going around the final corner, well, it doesn't really matter. You can keep the car in that position, but you do have to, of course, conserve your battery in the smart fashion, but also just know to keep a gap to the car behind. And I don't know if Ninja has got the pace to do that, but of course, we'll wait and see. He's currently got 0.8 of a second to the Ferrari at the back there, just going through turns 13. Well, 12, 13, 14 there, as the Pinolo will be the first driver to get a track limits penalty, as the Vince there makes a move on the Williams of Spindler there. So both Williams struggling in this early stage of the race. Now, I do have the points count for you, as maybe we'll see a change for second place between the 2 Alpines, and I don't think there's any team orders here as we go side by side into turn 1, but it is Umbi who will retain second place for now, and because they both have DRS, well, that gap stays as it was to Foxy going into the second turn there. But of course, not too far behind here. Look at this, as actually we're seeing a swap here between 2 Red Bull sister teams there. That is very tight between them into turn 1, and the Racing Bulls cuts off Qatar's for now, but it looks like to me the Red Bull is the faster car and is just holding up the Red Bull car here. But John Llewellyn's not playing any sort of sister team orders here. He wants that position no matter who is behind him, but of course he's got a lot of work to do. 27 laps is a very, very long time in this grand scheme of things. Now, of course, just to clarify, if things stay as they are now, with Apam finishing 8th place, he gets 3 points, but Captain Foxy gets a 13-point jump. So if things are to stay as they are, it would go down from 37-point lead to a 24-point lead. So Apam really has not having a good time so far and might want his teammate just to play a bit of a role here in trying to get past, but Apam has not been on the pace. In fact, look at that. He's even got damage to his front wing, and that might explain why we saw a bunch of carbon fiber go flying, as Spindler now has got a 3-second penalty for track limit violation. So maybe do your teammate a favor, but at the same time, his teammate is damaged as Umbi takes the fastest lap of the race, but also tries to go side by side with the McLaren driver that's leading the race since lap 1. And, of course, these two had a bit of contact, but it wasn't anything too egregious. I don't really see that being anything more than a racing incident, just one of those lap 1, turn 1 moments. And I think Apam was the unlucky victor with his front wing missing an end plate, as now Gatoz to the inside of the Racing Bulls car. The Racing Bulls did try and fight that back, but surely now Gatoz should be able to get away on this track here as he goes through turns 3 and then 4, with 5 and 6 approaching very, very soon. Umbi at the moment is still 3/10 behind. He's just trying to put Foxy under all sorts of pressure. Those medium tyres will be, of course, working better than the hards, but Umbi is making those hards work better for the time being, with Ninja still ahead there in 4th place. Ninja's having an absolutely great drive at the moment. Has kept that gap to Jackie comfortable, but the Vince is also very quick in his own right. He's currently nearly there to Jackie. I wonder if he's going to try and make a move very soon and maybe try and catch up to 4th place. I don't think he's going to have enough to have the top 3, but of course, this will be more representative to the DRS trade, which has been held up by Ninja here. But Ninja is doing that bad. In fact, Jackie is outside the 1 second point, but at the detection point, which is just after the exit of 15, I do believe the Ferrari does have DRS. And yeah, you can see it open there, so the Aston Martin should be fine for another few moments. But Umbi was really close there to getting the lead. But 1/10 was still not enough even for turn 1, and even then, that looked like it was half a tenth going into turn 1, but that wasn't enough, as now Kai Pinolo losing positions now. What we've come to expect from that Kicksauber driver is very used to being at the back of the field there. And there we go. Unfortunately, fortunately for Pinolo, Kai gets another position. There's now still... Pam has had a moment! Oh, he's off! He's off! The championship leader has just lost points. He is not scoring, and now this 16-point swing will go to 21 points. Oh, Pinolo and Pam have a moment. Pinolo there just got it wrong on the exit, and Pam has been slammed into. Carbon fiber goes flying there. Does Pinolo try and fight this back? He is still fighting. He doesn't care. It's the championship leader, but Pam is in all sorts of trouble now. This could be one heck of a evening, if beg your pardon, to forget for the Williams driver. and is now fighting for a singular point, which he will get thanks to Panolo's 3-second track limits penalty, which of course you do have to serve. These are not removed by the stewards, but also we might be seeing a change for the lead of this race, potentially, as Umbi has DRS. Look at how close he gets to Foxy. They're going to go side by side and so on. More contact between the two. Foxy did close the door a little. That might allow his teammate to get side by side there into turn 2. He doesn't. Foxy closes the door on that one, but here we go. As now Foxy loses the lead to the race on lap 6 out of 29, and maybe those hearts are now in their working order. But now Pam finally making an overtake there. Never thought I'd say that, but he is at the moment on real trouble. And now with that, the gap goes from 37 points to 22 if we're talking about Foxy. But if you're thinking about Umbi now, let's have a look at him, of course, going into tonight at 38 points. So if he's to get the win, that would go down to 23-point gap. And, well, to be honest with you, Pam is actually allowing these three to benefit. And if you also take, let's say, John Liu here, who is in third, he has 10 points to his name. So, of course, 48 points. That becomes a 24-point gap. And Foxy is losing touch with Umbi there. So, I don't know. Looks like those tyres have fallen off rather quickly on the McLaren. And it looks like the hards were the better choice. But then again, Foxy has fought back to keep it within that 1 second gap at the detection point. So when once he gets to the activation point, he can defend from Umbi's teammate. But Alpine in for some good points here. Of course, we'll calculate the total constructors' points swinging towards the French team before the end of this Grand Prix. And here we go. Umbi does not fight. Well, it looked like he was not fighting that at all. Looked like he was just going to let the McLaren through. But in the end, Umbi might have unnecessarily defended there and has concertinaed the top three there into a bit of a sandwich there. But at the moment, it stays as it was. Although John Liu there thought about it, going into turn number 4 there. So, sorry, that is turn 4. As now Pam has just made another move as well. That was on the Mercedes of Kai there. So, despite that damaged front wing, he's getting on with the job. So, that is now 2 points going his way. And that shuffles up the points a bit. But I think I'll come back to points calculations for later in the Grand Prix. At the moment, it is going to probably be a bit topsy-turvy because of a Pam's pace difference. But 7.3 seconds to Steve Ronaldo, who, of course, has DRS to cars in front of him. But he is stuck in a DRS train. 4th to 8th there in their own little battle at the moment, and Jackie unable to make his way by on Ninja, and that's 7.1 seconds to the top 3. So really, to be honest with you, top 3 in a league of their own so far, or in a world of their own, as Foxy again goes beyond the white lines. He's got to be careful, because remember, once you get that 3-second penalty, you cannot have that removed by Stewart. And again, it looked like he was really close there, as Jackie has just done what Captain Foxy cannot afford to do. Well, neither can all the top 3, unless if everybody does it, and then everybody's fair. We'll wait and see, though, as now Foxy will have DRS, as will John Liu. Umbi won't, of course, no car in front of him. Umbi has to defend here into turn 1, and it is going to be oh so close. Umbi late on the brakes there. Maybe that's something Foxy can think about, but Umbi there keeps the lead of the race for now, so Foxy will have to try the over-under method, but Umbi just a bit more confident on the brakes there with the Alpine, but no moves there. And like I say, again, even with that DRS zone, you don't really get much of an opportunity to overtake. You have to be basically alongside the car there, as Pinolo even proves to himself there. As, oh my goodness, Foxy's in the wall! Foxy is in the wall! Not only one of the more promising aspects of TF1, but somehow Foxy is in... well, was in the wall, but no damage to his car visibly anyway, and now he can continue on without pressure, but now Ninja's behind. Deep frustration for the German-Italian driver. 4.7 seconds now, and the Alpines are in a team battle here for the lead of the race. Can Foxy get that gap down? It just looked like his tyres faded quicker than the 2 cars that we're looking at, as now Umbi is going to have a 1 second gap, and I think he got it at the detection point, but of course we'll wait and see, as now Ninja with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. Let's see what the Alpines can do, as now the DRS zone is approaching. Yeah, as I thought, John Liu just didn't have it there. He is deploying his battery down the start-finish straight, but without DRS, it is far less effective. But he will be half a second to his teammates as he starts lap 9 out of 29. But at the moment, all the battles have gone quiet. Although I say that, here is Steve Ronaldo on Spindler to the inside of turn 1. And again, just not close enough. But Spindler makes a real mess of that corner. And Steve Ronaldo goes up into 7th place here. And of course, the secret, I think Steve Ronaldo has learned the secret. As long as he can keep it between the white lines, he can benefit from some points here. And of course, Steve Ronaldo going into tonight is at, let's see, have a look. Hang on, I will tell you in just a second. 7 points in 10th place. So he'd love to get some points on the board, not only for himself, but for his team as well, who currently lie 4th in the standings, but 22 points. So that's a 58-point overthrow they would need to Williams. Of course, Williams having a bad night at the moment. Both are 8th and 9th. Spindler not really giving a Pam any sort of help. And, of course, a Pam without a front wing end plate as Pinolo gets another 3-second penalty there. So it's 6 seconds for Spindler, 6 seconds for Pinolo, and the rest of the drivers on your screen there all have 3. At the moment, Foxy is seemingly dropping off as John Liu again outside of DRS detection point. Not within that 1 second window to his teammate. So again, he will deploy his battery down the start-finish straight. Don't think he'll have DRS though. He indeed does not. But again, look at that. When he's using his battery, it seems like he can catch up there. So he remains within a second to his teammate. But Foxy there is being dropped. 5.8 seconds already. And of course, one mistake around this track is rather costly. Here we go though. See Ronaldo and the Vins going side by side. But under DRS, that is rather academic. And that is Ronaldo up into the top 6 now. And his teammate is next. Although, he doesn't really need to fight them because... Oh, no! Steve Ronaldo makes a similar mistake to what he did pre-season. And Pinolo has retired. No relation to that accident. He's just in the pit lane. He's had enough. But Steve Ronaldo, with a similar mistake to what he did in the preseason, crashes into the Vins, and the Vins is missing a half of his front wing, and I am very surprised nothing was called out there, as now I think there was a glitch with the timing tower there. No swaps that were apparent, but Steve Ronaldo again desperate on his right foot and does not, spins round, and the Vins was the victim there, and a Pam now. Has he lost even more time? No, it doesn't look like it. No, because... no, okay, no, it's fine, it's fine. As a Pam now is going to obviously benefit from the Vins damage. And, oh, goodness me, the Vins, they're just not really catching the look that he would have wanted. I highly doubt a Pam is now. Here we go. John Liu is into the pit lane from 2nd place. Let's keep an eye because we need to see what's happening here. Foxy also into the pit lane. And Foxy has the younger tyres. Look at that. Only by a lap, of course. As also, who else is following in? Spindler. Of course, you see Steve Ronaldo, a Pam also going to pits. There's the A.S.D. Martin there taking a rather late pit lane. That might be, of course, being inflicted from his front wing damage. But here we go. I guess we do need to see what's going on. John Liu and Foxy in at the same time there. I don't think there was really any choice there for the McLaren. Had to really react to the situation around it. But at the moment, both Alpines looking to benefit from a Pam's misfortunes. But also, both Alpines looking to benefit from Foxy's misfortune there. As well, there is one battle happening here. This is the battle unofficially for 4th place, but Jackie with 3 more seconds in penalties post-race. Jackie just needs to really do well not to add on anymore as we are nearly approaching the halfway point of the race. Jackie has been stuck behind Ninja all evening so far, but of course we are in the early stages here. Now, personally, I thought Lusail would be a bit of a procession, but it has proven to be anything but. We've had the Vins here. We've had Ronaldo crash into the Vins. Of course, the Vins there now getting a 3-second penalty. Speak of the devil. And well, at the moment as well, Foxy also having a moment. A Pam not doing well either. So this is actually proving to be a huge turning point in TF1eSports, because it looks like it's going to be B that might kind of seal the deal for his race, unfortunately. So that might be the lead of the race completely gone. On hard tyres, he is trying to catch John Liu. But here we go. Oh, it's Ronaldo and a Pam, who of course had drama in the preseason. They're going side by side through here. How have they done that without making contact with one another? Of course, a Pam on the back foot here with that damaged front wing. I'm surprised they've both kept it clean. But remember, these two last collided back in Silverstone in the preseason. They don't want a repeat of that, especially a Pam, or else his race could go from what has been a really bad start to absolute worse. He does not want no points with the drivers behind him in the championship, benefiting massively from all of his chaos so far. But Ronaldo, of course, not afraid to get scrappy himself. of course, tried to save that half spin, but it was the Vince who's now down to 11th, as now Ninja gets another 3-second penalty for track limit violation, so those two are now fighting for genuine position. Ninja 0.4 of a second behind, well, half a second now as they approach the DRS zone, so that should begin to close. Well, Corv's cut to the battle for 4th place in just a few moments, but Ninja to the inside. Easy as you like there. That's the Racing Bulls back through. But here we go. Ronaldo and Apam about to go side by side. These two have had drama in the past. But it looks like Ronaldo's just going to hold ship for now and remain behind the Williams driver. The championship leader so far is Foxy now with the fastest lap of the race. 2.5 seconds to the driver in front of him now, which is John Liu, who has got 10 seconds to this battle. Imagine if these two started grabbing. It's John Liu Alex now with a 3-second penalty. Scanbro next into the pit lane after 13 laps on hard tyres. He's had enough. He's actually doing kind of well for himself, but Pinolo again was the one he was fighting with, but again, that's kind of gone to nothing. Pinolo, I think, has retired for, I mean, I'll have to double check this, for the 6th race in a row. I don't think he's actually finished a race so far this season, so I don't know. I think his seat might be under review, to be honest with you. And if I was a team manager or even an admin of a league, I would probably be looking at reviewing that, because I don't really recall a race off the top of my head that he has finished. And he hasn't been here every week either, so that's not really helped his case. As, oh my goodness me, Jackie very wide there and gets another penalty for track limit violations. That just helps Ninja's case more than anything. But at the moment, I want to see if Ronaldo and Apam are going to get real scrappy with each other yet again. Here we go. Down the start-finish line, the only DRS zone around this track. And Ronaldo's just simply too far away. It looks like Apam has managed that beautifully and has got the pace over the Ferrari so far. And we'll just need that 1 second gap when they next get to the DRS detection point. As Foxy, again, fastest lap, 1.8 seconds now to the Alpine of John Liu in front of him. That is a battle for 6th, but remember, Foxy with that 3-second penalty, which of course is a big talking point at this track, as we are now nearly at halfway. We'll be just over halfway when we get onto lap 15. As Spindler now with the fastest lap of the race, but he's got 12.5 seconds to make up there. Not being a good evening for either Alpine, to be honest, either Williams, to be honest with you, as now the Vin's finally making an overtake, what feels like an age for him, but now needs that 3-second gap on the Red Bull behind. But I'm sure Ronaldo might fall under review there, and we'll see if they deem that a racing incident. We'll see. It looked like a racing incident to me, but again, there might be an input there that they might review and say, not really, that was not up for kosher. That was not up to our standards. We'll see, though. That's, of course, a steward's review rather than a commentator's review. But here we go at the moment. Jackie and Ninja are the closest battle on track, but Apam quickly approaching with Steve Ronaldo, who of course was 1.3 seconds just a few moments ago, but 0.7 of a second as they get into the DRS detection point, which of course was just on the exit of turn 15, as now Jackie into the pits there. Steve Ronaldo will have to follow suit sooner rather than later. But look through that final corner, it just looks like Apam gets the better drive and is able to extend the gap to Ronaldo to a point where he doesn't have the advantage now. One I'm looking out for here, Captain Foxy, John Liu here in the Alpine and the McLaren. Foxy at the moment has brought that gap down to 3.1 seconds a few laps ago to 1.1 seconds. And I think this might be our next battle on track, because Ronaldo again has not been able to keep up with Apam through the first sector. So I just wonder now if that means we are going to start to see that gap extend there to the Williams from the Ferrari. But this gap has been decreasing here. The McLaren to the Alpine as well. Kaya's had a disconnection there from 11th. Wasn't fighting for any points, so not the most exciting of circumstances there for the Mercedes. But otherwise, let's see if Foxy can do some damage to this Alpine. Now, of course, it looks like the Alpine is not on a 2-stop. I can promise you that is a 1-stop strategy, because remember, John Liu and Foxy started on the same medium tyre. And now Foxy again is just running a bit wide there. You can see he's just going beyond that white line between turns 13 and 14. And through 15, yeah, look at that, wide again. And he's going to incur another warning, as Apam now is into the pit lane. Of course, these two will obviously be big beneficiaries from all of that. But I think Anno might be just trying to communicate with him, hey, you are going on the white line. Of course, Anno made his presence known earlier on with a simple little message. I'll read it out for you in just a few moments. With Gee Dave, mate, or good Dave, mate. Of course, a nice impression of Australia there from our favourite Anno Poke there. Still trying to catch, of course. John Liu is having a good race himself, but as is Umbi. Let's give a shout out to him. Umbi there has just not really been under any sorts of pressure. Oh, Foxy with another 3-second penalty. That doesn't surprise me too much, though. We have seen him go beyond the white line a few times here, so that he's not really controlling the track limits of the car. And if I know him well enough, he will be just getting frustrated in that cockpit. I thought there was a swap there between Apam and Spindler there, but Apam deciding not to replace his front wing. Let's see if that really doesn't benefit him at all. Now, update on the points so far. Well, hang on a minute. We actually need to see a battle here for 12th place there. Scambro, down the inside of John Llewellyn. Of course, John Llewellyn was the slowest by far and away in qualifying, a 126.0 when he needs to be in the 124s. And it's no surprise, really, he's down in 13th. But I didn't feel like Pinolo needed to retire, as we now see Umbi serving his one and only pit stop. Onto mediums he goes, as Steve Ronaldo will now be your leader of this Grand Prix. Trying to hope for a safety car. Ronaldo on 16-lap old hards. Ninja also into the box. Let's see where he comes out. Needs to be ahead of Jackie in the Ferrari. But, of course, massive penalties come in the way of Ninja and Jackie at the end of this race, with a flying Apam not too far behind. Jackie has now got to the start finish straight, and there we go at the pit exit. I do not see an RB coloured car, and there you go at the back of your frame there. Apam will get up into 6th place there, so this has been a very good recovery despite a terrible qualifying, and that's the stuff of championships. But here we go, Spindler and Ninja side by side with one another, but couldn't get it done. Ninja holds on to that position as he exits the pits. And, well, Apam here is now very close to Jackie. Despite that damaged front wing, it hasn't affected him too badly. So all of a sudden, the disadvantage that the Williams kind of had is all but negated now that he's ridden out the worst of it. And even with that damaged front wing, it hasn't affected him too badly. Gatoz and Kai now into the pits. John Llewellyn behind as well. So your bottom three in the pit lane serving their one and only pit stops. And they will go to the end on those medium tyres. So on lap 17 out of 29, we have a more realistic view of where things will be, but we're just now waiting for Ronaldo as well. Foxy got past John Liu there, but can John Liu keep up with the McLaren, as now Steven Ronaldo is going into the pits, and Umbi there is in your frame, but Foxy is out of this battle as Spindler gets another 3-second penalty, and that's his total up to 12 seconds. That is the kind of totals that LaSalle invites if you haven't practiced enough. So unfortunately for Spindler there, it's kind of obvious that he hasn't really studied the track limits there. So now Pam is in 4th place there, has just got past Jackie under DRS conditions, and that is 12.6 seconds. So he could usefully have a safety car and then try and catch up to this, because now all of a sudden that points gap has all but been eradicated, and all of a sudden the differences are not so massive, and the Alpine and the McLaren driver will be frustrated. They'll just think, what does a Pam need to have something go wrong? And evidently, even when he's been involved in some kerfuffles in turn 1 and lap 1, it really hasn't done much to affect his spirits. Even a damaged front wing hasn't done a whole lot. I have seen drivers ride with that before, but I've never seen anyone win. We'll see though if that changes tonight with a safety car, which is what is needed really for a Pam to be brought back into the win of this race. As they go, Foxy wide again. He seems to be making a habit of going wide at 13 and 14. That's where his track limit warnings are coming from, and through here as well, I would imagine he incurs a couple. But Umbi now really looking very comfortable to benefit from a Pam, but now he's not going to benefit as much. It's only going to be an 8-point swing. Of course, I'll update you once we are closer to the end of this race and we know where things are going to stand. Foxy to the inside defending. Not sure if there's going to be any real point there as John Liu to the outside, and that is a nice move there from the Alpine driver. Just had the better drive throughout the corner, and Foxy has to settle for being second best to John Liu in LaSalle so far. But now 2.8 seconds, John Liu and Umbi are separated. The two Alpines, who has got the pace? Well, it seems to have been Umbi so far, as now Steve Ronaldo and Spindler have just swapped positions there. Steve Ronaldo up into 7th place. And I'm surprised that he's actually still running as high as he is, to be honest, just because of what's happened to him earlier on with the spin with Levins. And, of course, just a few other moments in and around the race there. Well, more likely turn 1. But, of course, Ninja was a big beneficiary. But now with all the track limit penalties, that's kind of going to come to nothing. He's going to lose out to 6th place to Ronaldo. But he is going to improve. So, at the moment, Ninja, who finished 12th after qualifying 11th, qualified 9th tonight, and at the moment on to finish 7th. But of course, there might be other penalties that we will need to consider a bit later on. But Pam also has had a good recovery as well, and didn't qualify very well either. He is qualified 6th place, which is kind of below the standard we would expect from our championship leader, but up 2 positions after some scary turn 1 moments, and even I think I had a moment with another driver there. Well, I had a bit of battling with other drivers, but other than that, he's been rather comfortable. As Foxy now to the inside of turn 1 gets the move done. They are not catching Umbi. Umbi is going away, is going into the sunset here in Qatar. It looks like he's going to be taking the winner. Steve Ronaldo takes the fastest up of the race, and Sheki and Pam are now in a battle. Steve Ronaldo would be the one that the neutrals would like to catch up, overtake Ninja, and then try and catch up to his teammate Jackie. But I don't know if Jackie is going to be in any real mood to assist his teammate. He wants to try and get some points for that Tifosi team, of course, on 22 points going into tonight. We'll see if he can make that some more points. But at the moment, still going to wait and see how the rest of the race goes out. We've got 10 laps to go as of right now. And we've still got some things to be decided. But yeah, no, Umbi continuing to extend that gap. 5.3 seconds there, of course, went on to the medium tyres as he made those hards last a bit longer and came out ahead of both. And there, Foxy again beyond the white line, and Jackie gets another penalty. So that surely just confirms that Steve Ronaldo is only going to benefit from this. And speaking of that Ferrari driver, look how close he is to a Ninja, but at the moment we're still going to have to wait for that battle to really come to fruition. As again, Foxy beyond the white line on the final corner. DRS opening for the Alpine, 3.5 tenths. So yeah, this should be academic, as Ninja now gets another 3-second penalty. No, that's more added onto his total. This only helps Steve Ronaldo, which of course, speaking of, 6 tenths of a second for 6th place. Can he get the move done? Let's go on board with the Ferrari driver. He looks a little too far back, and he isn't actually gaining. He's actually recharging his ERS there. You can see that yellow bar on his steering wheel actually increasing. So that means he's trying to actually just play the patient game. He knows he can't really go much further than 5th place, I think, just because of his teammates' penalties. So he's actually being smart and just saying, I'll sit behind the Racing Bulls in front, conserve my battery, and then just get the move done safely. And I'm surprised here, because Steve Ronaldo invalidated so much in qualifying, but hasn't caught a track limits penalty so far. And that's, of course, touching wood right here, as we now go on board to the left-hand side of his helmet. And we're just observing how he takes turn number 7 there, as he goes through 8 right now. Then it's 9. And then 10 through here. A bit of an awkward corner there. And, of course, with the dirty air there, it just makes that so much worse. And that's brought the gap back up to around 7 tenths. But Ronaldo here, looking like he's got the better tyres. Only by a lap, but it seems to be enough of a separation as Kai and Qatar swap for 11th position. So that's Kai now up a position. This is genuine as well. This is, of course, for the actual position. But I don't think Kai's actually in control of that car. Of course, I think he disconnected earlier on. So bit of an anomaly there with the AI, but here we go. There is a swap for second, and it's going to be side by side into turn 1. Who is going to benefit? It is still Foxy for the time being, trying to keep him behind, but of course he knows it's no point. He tried to appeal the penalties he got in Spa due to being pushed off by another driver, but of course, if you cannot appeal in-game penalties, and as I say that, it is Steve Ronaldo up into 6th place there, 2.4 seconds to his teammate now, but I would say over 6 seconds. With 8 laps to go to a PAM championship leader, I don't think that gap is going to come down by enough for the Ferrari driver. But either way, it has been a good drive from Ronaldo. But of course, just that one moment where he damaged the Vin's front wing. And Umbi, speaking of, get the leader, who we haven't talked all that much about, has just got a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. But he is far faster than the drivers in front there. Of course, his immediate worry would have been Captain Foxy, but that 6.5 second gap makes him safe for the time being. So he's got to worry about his teammate, but of course Foxy having a good fight with the Alpine we are looking at right now. And hopefully for Umbi's sake, he can keep his teammate behind. But of course, with the points as they are right now, I don't expect anything to change as of this moment. Umbi started tonight with a 38-point deficit. Now, it's going to become a 26-point deficit thanks to the recovery of a Pam there. And he's even catching these two, so he might even be on their tail before long. As now, again, we're going to see side-by-side battling into turn 1 between the McLaren and the Alpine. Jackie gets yet another 3-second penalty, but that is now John Liu who will make the outside the inside. But Foxy fights back, and he gets that done. He keeps that position, but now the Ferraris are going to swap, and Steve Ronaldo, well, isn't really... Well, actually, to be fair, his teammate didn't really make that tricky. He just allowed him through. That's actually great sportsmanship there from Jackie, to be honest with you, just allowing his teammate through. He knew his fight wasn't with his teammate, and he just allows him to get through. His real fight is with Ninja, but 6 more seconds in penalties. Goodness me. That is a lot of ground to overcome there in so little time. I just don't see that happening. But Steve Ronaldo on for what should be one of his best finishes so far this season, and he is deserving of more. But his track limit penalties are just so massive, and his consistency as well just isn't quite there. But tonight he's really he's really looked like he's taken the break to sort that out, and up into 5th place here, so not bad at all. Of course, compare that to 2 weeks ago. He was looking at, once I find him, or was he even here last week? I don't think he was here. I can't find him on my notes. I will double check that in the Discord myself as well before the end of the before the end of this broadcast. But anyway, we need to have a look at this, and I think Foxy has given up the ghost here. Of course, I think he realizes his fight is no longer with 2nd place. This will, of course, hurt the German-Italian driver, but unfortunately, with those penalties that he's got, I think he knows that the pace just isn't there, nor is there any real choice in fighting this. He just cannot keep up with that Alpine and has to let him go, and surely now that means John Liu is free. But of course, 4.3 seconds to his teammate. If he can overcome that gap, remember, and get within that 3-second range, he could benefit for a podium position, but at the moment that just seems very unlikely as things stand right now. 7.4 seconds to Rumby on lap 24 out of 29. But of course, one of the closer battles here we now need to look at as we come off the go from the onboard to the trackside cameras. We are looking at Jackie and Ninja about to do another battle. Of course, 6 seconds of penalties between them, and that's, like I said again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it is just kind of what this is all about. As Spindler now with 15 seconds in post-race penalties for track limit violations. It's just not been Spindler's night, and of course Spindler going into tonight 9th with 8 points. Not going to increase his total by much, just to kind of remind you here. Once I get this in front of me, it's of course let's see, where is he finishing? He's finishing 8th so far, so that'll be 3 points, all things considered. But of course those post-race penalties may bring him down further, and in fact it will. The Vince has benefited massively, so that's good. What will be 3 points will become 2 as Ninja now will get that position. But look at that in the background. Bit of fighting going on between Kai and John Lou Alex there, but of course Kai is not in that car. He has disconnected. His AI has pitched him onto soft tyres for the final 5 laps of the race. Kai unable to rejoin after disconnecting, so he won't officially be classified. But either way, frustration for the Mercedes driver, and either way, we hope we can see him again next week. But of course, Pinolo with another DNF there into the pit lane. Pinolo's seat might be under review, to be honest with you. I would not be surprised. The Scambro now with a 3-second penalty, and you know what? Give it up for Scambro. He might not be doing the best, but at least he's kind of been in the mix tonight. He's in 10th place, and just to compare that, of course, 18 drivers were here last week, finished 18th. Finished 18th after qualifying 18th. There's Foxy now with another penalty. And look at that. As we have a caution in Sector 3 for... Who is that? Is that Scambro? Oh, a puncture! Puncture for Scambro! That is why he's gone all the way off at the final turn, as now he finds a gap and needs to come into the pits. Cuts the white line there. And he gets a 10-second penalty for speeding. No VSC deployed, but now... Oh, well, just to kind of bring in championship complications, Foxy, who looked to be set, finishing ahead of a Pam, due to his penalties, will now finish behind him. A Pam with an excellent recovery drive, and now, well, it's only a 6-point gain for Umbi, and a 2-point gain for John Lou. This championship is now, well, with this recovery drive, surely a Pam is going to be feeling great about this because he is better. Well, despite not having the best qualifying, remember, 6th place, he's made it up in the race. And now, he's just got to hope that Foxy doesn't fight him too hard. Of course, I think that's what everyone's hoping for. But Foxy's not afraid to get scrappy when he wants to. And we'll soon see what he does as Ninja and Jackie again, seemingly the closest battle on track. But it just feels like to me Ninja has the pace over the Ferrari. He does have 9 seconds less in penalties as Qatar now gets his own 3-second penalty following on with the Vins. I'm just trying to make sense of that, to be honest with you. We know Qatar is nowhere near close, so he can't benefit from anybody in front. But I'm trying to look at the Vins there and just calculate his total. He'll finish ahead of Spindler. He'll definitely finish ahead of Jackie if things stay as they are right now. But Ninja is where I'm a little unsure. I don't think he's quite close enough. Is he? As that was Steve Ronaldo at a Pam. A Pam's disconnected! A Pam! All of a sudden, another turn in this dramatic championship. A Pam has been disconnected from the session. And all of a sudden now, Steve Ronaldo is ahead. Could Steve Ronaldo be on for his first ever podium? He's only got 2 tenths of 1500ths to make up. But a Pam, well, it looked like it was going to be an excellent recovery. But all of a sudden, it has turned into a nightmare within the final 3 laps. His connection lets him down. And there is simply too much ground to make up. As now Steve Ronaldo is in podium range of this. What a Grand Prix we have seen. But now for the championship, that completely changes the picture again. For Umbi, that is now a 10-point gain. So that means his total goes from 38 points to 28 points. But for John Liu, more importantly, that is a 6-point gain. So John Liu came inside 34 points. That's also 28 points. So the battle for second gets more engaging. And Pam having an off night indeed. In his connection even saying, no thanks. And won't be contending with Foxy anymore. He just now needs to hope he can finish within the penalty. Well, his AI can finish within the penalty. Oh, it's a pit lane! Oh no! For a Pam, this is disaster! This is disaster as Jackie has had it off. He's retiring in the pit lane. That is 2 retirements there. So no intervention from race control, but now we are in the final few laps. But no, this is not what a Pam needed. And it's going from bad to good to absolutely catastrophic now. There is Kyle lapping himself on the right-hand side, but he's also not in his car. He's disconnected, and a Pam's race is now an official 10.3 seconds back. He can't... He's going to finish 8th. I don't see how he can get that back. Oh, my goodness. A Pam is back. But he's going to be having a nasty surprise once he gets back in his car. I'm surprised that they didn't get to work on his front wing either. I'm surprised they're still allowing him to go out on that. One last lap for Umbi, though, as he's now... Well, we haven't talked about him all that much, but he has... only had that contact with Captain Foxy on lap 1. But now with a Pam's unscheduled AI pit stop, that swing is now going to be a 13-point swing. He's going to have a 25-point gap if things stay as they are right now. But a Pam will be on a mission to try and get that gap down. Needs about... Well, he can't benefit from the Vins. As we know, the Vins is going to get 6th place. Ninja is the one I'm unsure about. But I think he's just going to be beyond Ninja. I just think he'll be beyond Ninja, but of course, still a lap to go. The positions oh so crucial for the championship, but yeah, no, you look at... Well, actually, yeah, no, you look at the Vince, he's too far back. So a Pam will be 8th place. So after all of that, after qualifying in 6th, getting himself up into 4th, as now Scambro has retired. So will he be classified? That is, I'm going to need to ask the admin that, because... I'm not fully sure of how that's going to work. So, of course, Kai isn't in his car. John Lou Alex is in his car, but can't benefit. from anybody around him, so he's going to finish 11th. So Kai will get a single point, but let's focus on Umbi here, who went long on the hards and then went on to the mediums, and it has worked a treat. Umbi now is going to be a huge beneficiary. 25 points to the leader as he wins in Qatar. John Liu will take home an Alpine 1-2. But of course, commiserations here again for the Italian-German driver, because Steve Ronaldo, within an 8-second gap, will now come across the line. His first podium in TF1. And Ronaldo there, take a bow, finally showing what he's made of. Oh, heartbreak here for the championship leader as Ninja also comes across the line. But, of course, Spindler, I won't benefit from that, but will the Vince has made a mistake! He's got a puncture on his front left! And now, all of a sudden, a Pam's gap again is brought into question. So now, after all of that, the Vince says, oh, I've got one last surprise for you, and now a Pam will get another position as now the Vince is off into the gravel. A Pam goes across the line, 7th place officially. So now, we were just talking about that, so that is now a... Oh, goodness me, that's changed again. 12-point gain, so that is now a 26-point disadvantage for Umbi, who will now lead the chase for the runner-up in the championship. But Ronaldo there will increase his points from 7 to 17, finishing ahead of Spindler as well. So he will go up. He will go up to... Let me just have a look. He'll go up to 6th place in that championship. Because of the 3 in front, well, no, the 4 in front, Spindler finished behind him. Jackie retired. Marito didn't show up, neither did Steve. So he's now going to be 6th place in the championship. Ronaldo there with a good jump if things stay as they are. Of course, they might have to review that incident with the Vince, but the Vince there not having the best of evening, of course. After Ronaldo's mistake, lost half of his front wing from that. And then, of course, on the final lap, gets a puncture on his front left. An evening to forget for the Vince there, who finishes 8th place. But here are your accolades. We all know your race winner. Fastest lap, Steve Ronaldo. Driver of the day, Ronaldo. And most overtakes from the same driver. Cleanest driver was John Liu, though. But I think I do have to give driver of the day to Ronaldo. As now, your top 3 are Umbi, John Liu, and Steve Ronaldo, with your top 5 rounded out by Foxy and Ninja. 6th to 10th is Spindler, Apam, Vince, Kai, and Guitars, with 11th to 12th being John Liu, Alex, and Scambro, with your non-finishers being Jackie and Penolo. Of course, I don't think Kai was actually in control of his car, so I don't know if his points will be tallied. I will have to ask the admin before next week. But otherwise, that has been another round here in TF1eSports. Heartbreak for a Pam there at the end there. Of course, his AI decided to go into the pits, but it's not as big of a loss there, thanks to the Vince there. And that singular point that he gained at the end of race. But again, he wasn't in control of his car either. He was also disconnected, remember. So a lot to think about as we are going to go into next week. And of course, a far better track. It is the Red Bull Ring there. Let's see. Hi. Oh, Kai's PC crashed. I'm sorry. I wasn't keeping an eye on chat there. So thank you very much, Torpy the Gamer. And actually, Anopack saying, I saw your stream. I was searching for this. And he gives him a little quiche there on the cheek as well. So Kai there, of course, having his PC crash, and that's why he never came back. But Anno Proke as well, I'm sure he will have a lot to say about Foxy as well. Unfortunately, track limits discipline just not there with the German-Italian driver in Losail. But of course, that is not really a surprise there. Not a lot of gravel there in Losail, but of course the track barriers are far away from one another. Anyway, so we are going to go into next week at the Red Bull Ring, and then we'll, that will define the final 4 races of this season. Of course, then we'll be off to Mexico the week after, then followed by Spain with a finale at the excellent Abu Dhabi circuit at the Yas Marina International Circuit. Now, just a bit of a sad announcement here, of course, due to moving to the US, I will not be with you for next season. So this season will be my one and only season. But I do just want to say very quickly a massive thank you to TF1 for bringing me on board and for broadcasting their races. Of course, we still have another 4 to go, and of course, I'll talk more about that when we go into the final round. I won't bring that up again for quite some time. I'll give you a chance to forget, and then I'll just break your hearts again at the final round. But either way, listen, thank you all so much here, and of course, let's start saying our goodbyes, even though I don't want to, because that was quite a good Grand Prix there, which of course had more twists and turns than I actually expected. So no disappointment there. But Pam's points might be under review, as he wasn't in control of his car at the start-finish straight, but neither was Kai. So of course, his PC crashed, so couldn't be helped. But of course, we'll of course see if Pam keeps his points when we of course go to Red Bull Ring next week. For myself, though, it has been an absolute pleasure to bring you TF1 Esports for yet another round. We'll, of course, see you next week. Same time as always, about 8 p.m. It's GMT now because of daylight savings. So, of course, Italy being 1 hour ahead, that'll be 9 p.m. for all of you. And also, from all of us here at TF1 and myself, we wish you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. A massive thank you to the admins, the stewards, and the drivers at TF1 Esports for putting on this show every week. And thank you for all your hard work. For myself, though, it is goodbye for now.